great to be here with all of you. Thank you so much for having me. I know several of you don't know me, meeting me here for the first time. So I wanted to start by giving all of you just a little background info very briefly on myself and where I am today. And that really starts with some of the lessons and the foundation really from my mother. My mother was really a key influence in my life in growing up, teaching me to be independent. She would always encourage me to figure things out rather than assisting me to do that. And many times I remember growing up, I thought, well, why can't she just come and help me and do this for me? And as a result of that, I learned, independence, how to figure things out, and it's really served me well today in my career and in running my business. And I think back to that foundation, and I know that I could not sustain what I'm doing had I not had those lessons from her. So those lessons and sort of the foundation of where you guys are today in your career journey, whether you're looking to pivot to an entirely new job function. I know because of COVID, many people are in that situation. It's not always easy to start that process. But ultimately, if you take a step back and the foundation and the core really comes from you and having the basics and the confidence to tackle and navigate this job search process, which as many of you know, in normal times, if we didn't have this pandemic, the job search itself is very hard to navigate. And then we add this pandemic into the whole equation, it can be an even more frustrating process. So starting with that foundation of your beliefs in yourself, how to navigate, how to have the confidence in what it is that you want to do, will really get you on the right path to move forward. A lot of the marketing and branding of yourself and what you do is through sharing your information. And I start by talking about give to receive. When you share your story and your information and what you do, create this content, it generates information so people remember who you are based on what you do. And a lot of this marketing and branding approach is really tying into also the networking, which is a key part of my business. Focus on one thing you are great at, but also don't get caught up in perfection. Nobody is perfect out there. Even people that might have 40 years of expertise, there's no such thing as perfection. So don't get caught up in that, and build your brand around your story, excuse me. And this jumps into your personal brand, the core values of what are important to you, your passion, all of that ties into the bigger picture of what that career is. What I've seen the past year is so many people, 2020 and even 2021 for that matter, has been such a year of inflection for so many people that they are wanting more purpose-driven work, or they're wanting to work for a company that is in line with their values and their passion and really what's important to them. And so when you determine what that is, tie those values and that brand into that company, into that industry. Ensure that the brand is authentic to you. Once you decide what that career path might be, again, if you're looking to pivot entirely, I know many people past year coming from, for example, hospitality or retail. A lot of those industries have really taken a hit with this pandemic. But there's many transferable skills if you're coming from that industry sector that you can take to a number of different types of industries. It's just a matter of being laser focused in what those are and really understanding what your passion is. And then I have at the end here of this first slide, believe it or not, this is a good time to job search. Now, it's not as strong as we were, of course, in 2018 and 2019, but the whole world of work has gone through and is still going through such transformation. So there's new skills, there's new jobs that are out there. Business as usual is no more. People are more receptive to conversations, especially those that are looking to move into a new job or a new industry. So it's easier to access people, even though we're actually, disconnected more in many ways. We're even more connected with Zoom and some of these other platforms. So it is a good time to job search. And then with your branding and marketing, of course, some of the main social platforms, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. You don't have to, think that you have to tap into all of them. Depending on what your job function is and what your career is, one is going to work better for you than the other. LinkedIn, of course, is very powerful. Maybe Facebook or Instagram even might be better for you, depending on, again, what you do. So really understand and evaluate which is the best for you, and then focus and build on that. There really is a science behind, of course, the LinkedIn and the profile. And LinkedIn, as you guys probably know, is always changing their algorithms and updating ways that you can do things in terms of how you market yourself and position yourself. But be focused on what platform works best for you. Make sure you update your LinkedIn so you can be found. I have heard numerous different opinions on the open to work circle that's around your headshot. Some people don't like it. They don't want to display that. If you're not comfortable with that, I would recommend highly that you put in your title right under your name that you're actively seeking and looking for opportunities, because you want to be found quickly and easily. Next point is it's really critical to position yourself as a thought leader in what you do. So again, depending on your job function, use LinkedIn or Instagram or some of these other social platforms out there to share what you know, right? Write short blog posts, engage with companies that you're very interested in, follow some of those people. Position yourself as the expert really in what you do. You want to attract companies to you who see the value that you bring in your area of expertise, rather than trying to go in the front door of the company with maybe 2,000 other people that might be applying for that same job. So it's important to, again, going back to you give to receive, you share the information, you share your expertise, leverage LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, maybe all of those. Clubhouse now, of course, is in the mix. Clubhouse is out there, but share your information and attract those companies and those people to you and engage in those conversations. It'll separate you from all of the other applicants that might be applying just through the ATS system. And then next point is to have consistency with your profile. Make sure your bio information is listed consistently on all of the sites you'll be using. Video, of course, is very big these days. I've seen many people create an executive or a video pitch, and it can, of course, reach a larger audience, gives you another way to help you stand out. Keep it short, keep it brief, showcase your expertise, showcase your skills, and then also update your headline to reflect some of your branding. Any questions thus far?
Thanks, Liz. I did see we have a question, and a reminder, you can use the chat box or email info@savvyladies.org. And one of the questions is asking for your thoughts on saying that COVID is why you're out of the workforce. Is that a good explanation?
100%, yes. It is absolutely something that you can use, you should use, and what the reasons were behind that. So yes, definitely use that.
Okay, great. And if we have more questions, I will let you know, Liz.
Okay, terrific. And then this is jumping into your 2-minute pitch. As you guys all know, there's certain like standard interview questions we get all the time. When you get the question, tell me about yourself, well, that's a very loaded question. Okay, so where do you begin? And it starts with this 2-minute pitch. You can start, I would recommend starting with a story, a client example of an accomplishment or a win that you experienced in your previous role, and then end with a call to action, and also weave in as much as you can personal or soft skills that are outside your core technical skills. You want to separate yourself from the maybe 50 other people that are going to be interviewing for that same role. And in this whole Zoom and virtual environment, you don't get the same nuances or sort of vibe of the company. It's much harder to assess that, right, than it was in person. So you want to stand out as much as you can so people will remember, oh, this was the candidate, she loved to bake, she was a real, she was a avid baker, and she's also a global marketing executive. You want to weave in some of those outside skills, passions, interests, so you can resonate and connect with whoever's interviewing you. So practice that 2-minute pitch. Showcase your personality. People want to understand why and how they can enjoy working with you. Connect with them, ask them questions about their background. People love talking about what they do. And then you turn your pitch again into a story. Stories are the pathway to engaging your network's imagination. You want people to remember you and remember, oh, Mary Brown, she does this. It resonated with me, and I remember her. So put your personality, put your skills outside of your core technical skills into that. Practice, like with anything, the more you practice, the easier it will become with this 2-minute pitch, this intro. And then I just talk here about video, Zoom. I think a year into it, most people are a little bit more comfortable with this Zoom interview. However, it's still it's still not easy, especially if you might have for example, a panel interview, and you might have 5 or 6 people on the other side. But some of the basics, keep a clean background. There's many different backgrounds you can use with a Zoom setup, and to make sure the lighting is good. Some of the basics. Most effective job seekers know what they have to offer, know what your value is. What is your value add? Provide samples and data of your skills to back up your accomplishments and what you're stating in the interview, and explain how these skills can relate directly to the employer's needs. And then, of course, being consistent, excuse me, but not too eager is important. I'll pause there if there's any questions.
We did have another question come in that's asking if you can give an example of a call to action that can be added to a LinkedIn profile.
Okay, so on a LinkedIn profile, in your About section, I wouldn't put it in your title, the call to action, although some people you'll see do have, for example, a direct phone number, or they'll put their email under their name. But in the About section, I would recommend you would put that there. I've seen also people will post their resume directly there, and you know, you could put a short sentence, you know, I'm looking for X, Y, and Z. I would love to speak to, you know, a marketing director. Here's my number, here's my contact info. So that's on LinkedIn. Now, of course, for the call to action, you can be, and you should be, much more specific as you're sending emails or you're responding specifically to jobs. But if you're, you know, on the LinkedIn, you know, profile, you can just post the resume and have that direct sentence there, and then it's more specific for emails or for direct reaching out directly. Hope that answers that.
So, yes, thank you. And there's another question, Liz, if you have time for another one.
Yeah.
It's asking if you can give an example of what too eager would look like.
Yeah, great question. So one word of advice, and when I say too eager, this whole process is really a two-way street. However, I know as the job seeker, we feel that we're at the mercy of the employer and the person on the other end who's interviewing us. But keep in mind, going into the interview, you are vetting and interviewing them and asking questions as much as they are you. And so when I say by not being too eager, as you're wrapping up the interview, you could say multiple things, but here's what I would recommend. Everyone says, I really want this job. I think I would be a great fit. You know, that's what, you know, 90% of people say. How I would phrase it is, you always want to give the employer what they want, not what you want. And so a better way, which shows the value add and does not make you seem too eager, is by saying, what are the 3 things in the next 6 to 9 months that you would want to see from who fills this position? And then you can bring yourself back into that conversation and highlight your areas of expertise. You know, if you were to hire me for this role, I would be able to complete, you know, these 3 objectives over the next 6 months. So you're pushing, you're advocating for yourself in that without being too eager and without saying what everyone else says, which is, you know, I want the job, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just that everyone says that. So I hope that helps.
Okay, thank you, Liz.
So we'll jump here to the next piece. When you have built your brand and understand your value as the foundation, as the starting point, you want to, you know, again, share your story, share what you do, your knowledge, and this really ties into the networking piece, which is a big part of any job search, and I think has been more of a priority in terms of networking. Even people that don't like that word networking, I think COVID has certainly shown us that there are absolutely no guarantees, and so having the door open a little bit and keeping your pulse on the market, building that network and a following is really not just when you need to find a new job. And this ties back into the whole world of work that is going through a transition. The gig economy, project-based interim work is on the rise, and it's here to stay. So networking is something that should be built in consistently to that job search, to find those hidden jobs, people that can refer you into a company, people that understand what you can do. And when you're not networking, I don't know how many of you do this regularly, you do miss out on opportunities. Um, Finding those hidden jobs is really a great way into a company. People that have referenced maybe previous clients that you've worked with, reach out to them, even if it's been, say 5 years. People often say to me, well, I haven't spoken to this person in, the past 10 years. Well, as long as you've had a good relationship with that person, I encourage you to reconnect. Most people, appreciate when you think of them and you reconnect with them. So don't be afraid to reach back out, even if it's been some time. They know you, they can recommend you. So it's a very powerful part of this whole process, this networking, and having a strategy behind what you're doing so that you're super focused on what that industry is. Going back to your values and your passions and what you're looking at as a next step. As high as 80% of job seekers say their network has helped them find work. And a couple of bullet points here, you can start the interview with an advantage when someone in your network has recommended you and spoken highly and already given you that endorsement. So, and the interviewer is already thinking positive things about you. A lot of people, jumping into this next point, get comfortable networking virtually. Some people are not loving this Zoom networking. There are many groups out there that you can join to help you become more comfortable with networking. It's actually one of the things that I teach. I have a group every Thursday. Work with people to help them build a network, how to position themselves. There's multiple groups on LinkedIn so that you can get more comfortable in this virtual environment. There's open networking groups, community service clubs, volunteer groups, alumni associations, professional associations. And the gist of it here is that we never know where this one contact or one referral through the network could lead us to that next job. So you have to sort of have this mindset of always being in interview mode, because you just never know where a job lead might surface from through this networking and through sharing your story, and your, what you do. And just building on the networking here, you can get insider information, referrals about companies you might be interested in, upcoming roles that maybe they haven't posted. Having a strategy, just tapping into this for a minute here, really identifying who you want to connect with. I'm sure all of you, as myself included, we get inundated these days with outreach and in-mails and people sending us, who knows, this, that, and the other. And so sifting through the information and all the noise that's out there and really having that plan and being laser focused in terms of what your next step is really critical. Sort of weeding through that, making sure you communicate your objectives with what type of role you're looking for. And if that person isn't a direct resource, you're always asking for other names. So if John Brown can't help you today or doesn't have anything coming up, say, is there some people that you could recommend I speak to based on what I'm looking for? And you're building that network, you're getting contacts. Most people, always do want to help, but it's super important to be as focused and communicate exactly what it is you're looking for, so people understand clearly what you do. And then basic follow-up, thanking them for the contact, if they've referred you. And I get this a lot. Never be afraid to follow up if you haven't heard back. Um, we all get busy. I woke up myself at 2 a.m. the other night because I was like, did I respond to this email? And I just couldn't remember if I had responded. And sure enough, I hadn't. But I think we all get so busy that if you haven't heard from someone, as long as you space it out, absolutely follow up. My mother, again, always used to say the squeaky wheel gets the oil, as long as you're not squeaking all the time. But to be consistent and to not be fearful of following up, you really, I encourage you to follow up. And sometimes it might take maybe a couple of emails before the person might respond or is able to to meet with you, but to keep keep at it. It's it may not, and then after if it's been several times and there's no response, then of course move on. But point here is to be consistent and to follow up. At least I'd say at least three times, and then hopefully you get that meeting or you get that Zoom call. But don't be afraid if you don't get an immediate response. Keep following up. And that concludes today on what I do, how I work with candidates that are pivoting into a new industry, new job function, my contact info, my core business, EBC Associates, my referral networking group for job seekers and business owners, Erudites group. Take a look there, my contact info, and I'll be happy to answer any other questions anyone might have.
Okay, thank you, Liz. I'll remind everyone you can use the chat box or you can email info@savvyladies.org. And a question that we have for you says, I'm currently in a job that's helping me pay the bills, but it's not really what I want to do. How can I job search on LinkedIn when I don't want my employer to know that I'm looking for another job?
That's a great question. I was just speaking to someone the other day about this. So when I was going back earlier in the presentation about how you can create, depending on what you do and your function is, create content and share that content if you're not doing so already, and follow companies. You can follow people that work at those companies or those job functions that you're looking to get into. You can tag people. It all ties into the branding and marketing of yourself and really showcasing your expertise without that coming across as a job seeker. You're sharing your knowledge, if you will. So I hope that helps.
Yes, okay. Thank you. Another question for you is asking if you have tips for when you're reaching out to reconnect with someone you haven't spoken to in years. You want it to feel authentic and not like you're just reconnecting because you need a job. Are there tips you have for reaching out?
That's a great question. So I would, yes, authenticity is always key, but in this situation, being that you are looking for a job, it's okay to state that, right? It's perfectly fine to let them know, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Here's where I'm at. Would love to speak with you about that, to see if you might be a resource or know someone. So it's perfectly okay to be as clear and concise in why why you're reconnecting with them, and being authentic, of course, too, as always. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Great, thank you. Another question is asking for suggestions when there is a gap in employment. Do you have ideas for how you explain that when you're asked?
Yep. Another really great question. Depending on the whether it was, I know some, of course, having children or maybe taking care of a family member, is to always be truthful and upfront about what the reason was that you had that gap. Some businesses, some companies are putting more emphasis on that than others, but I just always recommend being as clear and honest as the reasons that you had that that break from your job. You can also add in, depending on the circumstances that you left that. Oftentimes, for example, if it's parenting skills, you left and you had a baby and you were home for a few years. Those parenting skills that you develop are really in demand, in your core job. So you can weave that into the benefits of bringing the new skills and what you learned from having a baby, if that was the case, right, into into your core job. So it really shouldn't be it shouldn't be an issue. I know sometimes it can be, but there's ways that you can explain that effectively.
Thanks, Liz. And it looks like we have two more questions currently. The next one is asking if you can talk about the differences between pitching yourself when you're employed versus not employed.
In your 2-minute pitch, I think you're saying?
I think that's the question, yes.
Okay. It's a good question. I mean, if you're employed or not employed, essentially it would be the same. It would be the same pitch, and in that regard, you would gear that pitch towards what your goal is and what you're aiming at in the next position. So if it's something really unrelated to what you're doing now, you would find those adjacent skills to what you're doing now and angle your pitch towards what you're targeting as a step up in your career. But whether you're employed or unemployed, it's the same pitch. So I hope that helps.
Okay, thank you. And I believe this is the last question for you, and it is wanting to know how to feel like you're not asking for favors from your network while you're job searching, and how you can make sure that you're giving back as well.
That's a great question. So, always, I think when I started, talking about this, pay it forward, give to receive, as you're building your network or reconnecting with a network or speaking to people that maybe you haven't spoken to in a while. You want to create that value that you can bring to them, but always find out how you can help them first, and go into the conversation that way, right? When you give to receive, know your value, know what you do, but find out how you can help them first, right? And then when you build that rapport through your connections, through your networking community, people will remember you. And again, this ties into the whole branding and sharing your story. But if you always focus on them first, give to receive, and then it will build from there. If that makes sense.
Great. Yes, that makes sense. And we did have one more question for you that came in, and it's asking if your networking group is a private group.
Great question. So it is a private group. However, you are absolutely welcome to come and visit us and check it out. I cover different topics weekly. We talk about salary negotiation, what to do if you get ghosted in a job search. We had a discussion about ageism in the market the other week. But you're welcome to come and visit. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. And we will make sure we send Liz's contact information, the information here, so you'll have that in your inbox. And we will also follow up with a link for the recording of today's session. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today and asking questions. And thank you so much, Liz, for sharing all of this information today and helping all of us in our job search.
Oh, thank you so much, Maggie. It was so great being here, and I hope this helped. I hope I can be a resource for you, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with Savvy Ladies. I so appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. Thanks, Liz. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much, Maggie. Bye-bye.